If you're in the market for one of the most well-rounded compact luxury SUVs in America, you really don't need to look much farther than the Genesis GV70. This is a nameplate that has been in the States for about 2 years, and in that time frame it has grown to become the company's best-selling model, with Genesis moving just under 26,000 units here in the States in 2023. Now for 2024, the GV70 stays pretty much the same, but as you guys know, this space is constantly changing, and with new entries from Mercedes-Benz, BMW, Acura, and Lexus, this week, as you can see, the company has loaned us the top-of-the-line version of the GV70 to test out. This is a 3.5T in the Sport Prestige trim, and with a twin-turbo V6 delivering 375 horsepower and a design that still is going to attract a lot of heads. The big question I want answered, for those of you who are still looking for a compact luxury SUV and you want something that, again, has a unique look and nameplate, how does the brand new 2024 GV70 continue to stack up? Stay tuned to find out. Now, before we go over the very attractive styling of the 2024 GV70, I thought I'd pop the hood and remind you guys what's powering this thing. Now, Genesis continues to offer a choice of 2 different gas engines and an all-electric powertrain, which we'll save for a different review. This model here has the top internal combustion engine, a 3.5-liter twin-turbo V6. Now, underneath this hood, you're going to find an engine that is longitudinally mounted, and that's because this vehicle rides on a rear drive platform that it also shares with the Genesis G70, a compact luxury sports sedan. And this model here has a 3.5-liter twin turbocharged gasoline direct injection V6, delivering 375 horsepower and 391 pound-feet of torque. This is not a mild hybrid or a hybrid at all, so it has no electrification, and it all goes out through an 8-speed automatic transmission, and the power figures at 375 and 391 are still among the best that you're going to find in the segment. It certainly gives the GV70 a unique engine option, especially if you're comparing it to its Japanese rivals. This has power that really goes toe-to-toe with the best from Europe, with its, boosted 6-cylinder engine. Now, in terms of fuel efficiency, that's where the Genesis brand is lagging compared to its rivals. This model here is rated at 18 in the city, 24 on the highway. If you guys want better fuel efficiency, there's also a 2.5-liter Turbo 4 delivering 300 horsepower. That should get closer to 30 mpg. This vehicle has a 17.4-gallon fuel tank. It's recommended to run on premium, and you're looking at around 330-ish miles of range on a full tank. Now, Genesis claims 0 to 60 will be in the low 5-second range. We'll test it out again with our equipment when we get it out on the road. It has a top speed of around 150 miles an hour. If you guys plan to tow, this vehicle will tow a maximum of 3,500 pounds, and as this car sits, it weighs in at just over 4,400 pounds, so a pretty average curb weight considering the size and price category of this vehicle. But let's go ahead and close up the hood and talk about the exterior styling. Now, this gorgeous red exterior color on my test car is a slightly premium color upcharge, I think, for $500. And you can see the GV70 essentially gets no styling changes for 2024, which is a good thing. This is still, again, one of the best looking, in my opinion, compact SUVs you're going to find. I love the way the hood looks with all these multiple creases in it. You can see the Genesis wing logo has almost like its own little centerpiece with these 2 flowing lines that go toward the back of the hood. You can see the Genesis Crest grille is bold and in your face with this model. It also has some active grille shutters behind it. You can see the Sport Prestige kind of includes some dark chrome with the diamond textured inlay. For the grille, you have a nicely integrated front camera and front parking sensors. Then all GV70s come standard with the company's full LED headlights with the dual line LED daytime running light and turn signal. It's got the quad beam LED headlights, which is nice. Down here you can see it has more of that diamond texture in the actual front splitter. There are some functional openings there that create an air curtain over the wheels. You also have some more openings down there with the radar sensor for the adaptive cruise and all the safety tech. And overall, this vehicle has roughly 7.3 inches of ground clearance, but again, it really just has more of like a Bentley meets Mercedes-Benz design philosophy. It still turns a lot of heads out on the road. I'm surprised, even though it's been on the market for 2 years, people still stare at this thing as you drive one wherever you take this vehicle. Now, moving around the side profile, you can see It has a really interesting shape to it, but again, this is the company's compact SUV, although the GV60 is technically smaller than this, but it has a 113.2-inch long wheelbase, so on the long end for the segment, a good 6 to 7 inches longer than most rivals. Its overall length is around 185.6 inches long, again, a couple inches longer than like a Lexus NX, but pretty similar to an Audi Q5 or a Acura RDX. You can see this particular trim that I'm showing you, the Sport Prestige, includes standard adaptive suspension, four-wheel independent independent suspension, and you also have these 21-inch medium sputtering 5-spoke wheels. I love these wheels when they first came out, and I still love them today. You can see you also have upgraded brakes with 4-piston calipers that are black painted on this model. You also have a 255/40 R21-inch Michelin all-season tire. And the wheels really just set off, you know, the lines of this vehicle nicely. They fill out the wheel wells great. I also love how you have a full paint finish here with the wheel arch trim, which is also body color. There's a nice little black, gloss black line that goes across the side profile. And when you see it from this angle here, this car just looks expensive. You really, a lot of people probably don't even know what this brand is if you're not familiar with Genesis, even though it's been on the market for close to 8 years now. You can see the mirrors, power folding, integrated turn signal, nicely integrated camera here. You do have some more of that dark chrome along the side of the vehicle. A panoramic sunroof is also included on this trim, which, as you can see, opens up to vent air. And then looking at it from this angle, this is probably, for me, the least attractive angle of the GV70. I don't particularly love the way the rear window intersects with the back window. It just, to me, tries too hard to look more like a coupe. I would have preferred a boxier design, but that's just a preference. You can see, looking at the rear of the vehicle, the dual line theme continues with its full LED taillights, which is nice. It spells out Genesis at the rear with the GV70 badge, and then there's the all-wheel drive badge, and then that 3.5T lets everybody know you have the twin-turbo V6. Also love the sport-looking dual chrome exhaust tips on this model. That's included when you guys go for any of the sport trims. It's technically just a fake piece. The actual muffler is behind it, but at least it actually is slightly connected to it. And then you also have a slightly more aggressive rear diffuser. Your reverse lights are down here in the bumper, along with a more aggressive, you know, looking diffuser area. You can see still has a rear window wiper, which I would have preferred it to be tucked underneath the spoiler. You can see it has the third brake light here and a nice little spoiler in general. You push this button here to open up the cargo area. And this is where the GV70 has average cargo space, although some competitors offer a little bit more, a little bit less. With the second row seats up, there's no third row. You get around 29 cubic feet of total storage space, which is definitely usable. I took this thing on a Costco run with 4 people, and it was definitely filled to the brim. You can see there's a little bit of side storage over here. Underneath the floor here, you do have a temporary spare tire with your jack and tools, and then you also have a little bit of underfloor storage. If you fold down the second row seat, it expands the cargo capacity to just over 57 cubic feet, which 57 cubic feet is around 10 more cubic feet than like a Lexus NX, but I believe something like the Acura RDX or BMW X3 offers around 5 to 10 more cubic feet of total cargo space. So let's move on to the interior of this 2024 GV70. Before we get inside, however, let me show you guys the key fob. You can see this is the current Genesis key fob that is very different, of course, from key fobs that you find from like parent company Hyundai. I love the Genesis logo. I love the material that Genesis uses on the key with the chrome and the matte black material. It also just feels really high quality in your hands. You have a lot of buttons here for lock, remote start, unlock, panic feature, and then pop open the trunk. This also, I believe, will flash the headlights. And then these buttons here allow you to eventually basically move the vehicle up, forward and back in and out of a parking spot if somebody is parked next to you and the vehicle's too close. You can also use their latest digital key as a key as well, where you can use your smartphone to enter the vehicle and access the Genesis app. So again, all the latest technology that you could want in a luxury SUV like this. Now, as I approach the door handle, you can see it's a traditional door handle. The vehicle does lack an auto walkaway lock and unlock feature. So when you want to lock the vehicle, you just touch this little area here that locks the door. It also folds in the mirrors if you have it set to do so. When you want to unlock the door, touch the back of the door handle. It has a sensor, and then that will unlock the door for you. Now, as you can see, my test car here with this gorgeous red exterior color has this really interesting two-tone look where it's called ultramarine. This is the upgraded premium Napa leather that you get with the quilted diamond pattern that's included with the Sport Prestige. Again, you can't really tell very well, but that's actually a dark blue interior. It almost looks black in certain lights, but in this sunlight, you can actually see the navy blue, which looks fantastic. You can see that on the Sport Prestige, you have a leatherette stitching on the actual upper door panel here, real metal trim, which is nice, although I believe it's actually just plastic underneath, but it does have a satin silver look to it. You can also see contrast red stitching, some genuine carbon fiber included on this trim. And you can see down here more of that ultramarine. It's also a soft touch injection molded plastic, some additional storage here. Window controls, they have a high quality feel where they're actually accented in metal. And it's one touch for all 4. Love the textures in here with the metal speaker covers. It has a 16 speaker Lexicon premium sound. And then the seats, you can see they adjust in 16 different ways. They are heated and ventilated as well. And the driver's seat includes their Ergo Motion massage. So massaging seats in this class is extremely rare. great to find it in this car, although it's only on the driver's side, not on the passenger front seat, as well as some more expensive rivals. Now, getting inside, you can see it has a pretty typical step-in height for an SUV with 7.3 inches of ground clearance. It's not a lot, but as I shut the door has an extremely solid sounding thunk. It doesn't offer a soft close feature, which you don't expect in this class, but really adds to that impression of quality. Now, starting the vehicle up, as you can hear, it has a traditional starter noise. This is not a hybrid or a mild hybrid, and the engine itself has a relatively satisfying sound. If I start messing with the drive mode selector here, you can hear. Now, the vehicle does have a electronic sound enhancer where it's actually amplifying the sound of the engine through the speakers. You can turn that on and off. When I cycle the drive modes, it also makes the engine a little bit quieter. But you can see the interior hasn't really changed. You still have a fully digital 12.3-inch cluster if you guys go for the upper trims. The Sport Prestige adds the 3D cluster effect, which again looks pretty cool. I love the traditional dials. Don't love how the tach spins counterclockwise, the needle. That confuses the heck out of me. And you can't really customize that screen where you could put like your GPS function in it. That's where some competitors have done better. The center display, all GV70s will come with a massive 14.5-inch touchscreen. Now, I know it's a touchscreen, but you can see it's at extremely far reach. I really wanted Genesis to bring the screen a little bit closer. It also has that tablet style where it's sticking out of the dash. No, it doesn't adjust and move forward and back or retract in and out of the dash. And for a 14.5-inch display, I will say that it's mostly just long lengthwise. It's not as tall as some rivals, like the new Lexus NX, for example, has a 14-inch display. But in the Lexus, it looks much larger because it's just closer to you, and it's also easier to interact with. The Sport Prestige also includes genuine stitching here with the leatherette stitched dashboard, which extends from the door into the dashboard. Same thing with this area here with the contrast stitching. You also get a nice heads-up display that's included with this trim, and you also have a power tilt telescoping steering column, which you can also find in some other vehicles in the segment that are high trims. You can see there's metal accented paddle shifters. Nice controls here to control the infotainment display or the instrument panel display. Your adaptive cruise control switches are here. I like the 3-spoke design with the perforated leather and the contrast stitching. The horn, it sounds pretty much how you'd expect. Nondescript, but not puny at least. And then over here you can see there's a little digital display for the automatic temperature control. You have dual zone. You also have heated and ventilated seats, which is controlled via the touchscreen here. I also like how there's an actual dial here to control the temperature gauge. You have some actual hard buttons here, which is nice. And then the CarPlay function is sadly not wireless. So that's one of the downfalls of this older infotainment system. You still have to connect it here via USB-A. It's not even a USB-C. And because my phone is what I'm using to film, I can't show you the CarPlay here. But it'll essentially take up the whole screen. It'll leave like a little portion here. So basically the CarPlay is like a 12-inch display, and you'll have a separate helper screen to the side. As well, which is fine, but I think Genesis did add wireless CarPlay for 2025, but the 2024s obviously don't have it. They also have a new 27-inch curved display that connects the instrument panel with this center display in the new GV80, which I'll be testing out next month. So I'm wondering to see if Genesis will eventually offer that in this vehicle when they refresh it. You can see down here, your drive mode selector is here. There's like 5 different modes from Eco, Comfort, Sport, Sport Plus, and Custom. It even changes the way the gauge display looks, but that's really the only customization you can do for the actual gauge display. If you don't want to use the touchscreen here, you can also use this little rotary dial, which also functions as an actual trackpad if you just kind of swipe your finger across or just rotate it. Like how Genesis offers that, 2 choices. I don't love how the gear selector, however, is really close to this. So there are times where I'm looking for the gear selector, I accidentally grab this. As an owner, you'll probably get used to this, but I just think that the 2 knobs shouldn't be so close together. You can see I love the glass control here for the rotary shifter, which is nice. If I put my foot on the brake and then put it in reverse, you can see there's your full 360 camera, which offers trajectory and distance markers, really good resolution and quality. And then if you push this button here, you can actually rotate around the vehicle entirely. I wish the color matched the actual vehicle itself, but that camera quality and resolution is among the best you're going to find in the industry. So that's all really fantastic. Love the carbon fiber here along the sides. There's beautiful ambient interior lighting in this car as well. At night, the vehicle looks even nicer. Love the backlit. You can also change the color to whatever you'd like. There's a nice padded center console here with the contrast stitching. Open this up, you can see pretty deep center console storage. All my camera equipment basically fit in here, along with having a 12-volt power outlet. and you also have 2 USB-A charging ports here. I also love the Genesis puts the control for this seat here where I can essentially adjust the seat if I need to from the passenger or from the driver's side. The upgraded Nappa leather looks fantastic. I love the dark blue. I love the heat and cooled function. However, I will say for an upgraded leather seat material, the seats themselves are a little bit hard. I actually think that the seats in the Lexus NX are more comfortable. On a longer trip, I just found that the seat bottom cushion was starting to hurt my behind because I wanted it to be a little bit more plush. So I hope the Genesis will eventually put softer padding in their seats. It's just a little too hard for my taste. You can see the glove compartment is damped and lined with felt. It's a bin style. You know, it has a pretty decent amount of storage in there. You can see the camera is not a fully digital camera where it offers, you know, a rear view mirror camera. It's just an auto dimming with a nice frameless look. But you don't really need to because the view from the rear view is fine. Although if you have stuff to the roof, it's going to take up the space. You can see you have a nice ultra suede material on the headliner. You have LED map lighting in here, which is, you know, really nice at night. You also have this big panoramic roof. This glass area here is extremely dark tinted, which is nice, but it also, you know, limits how much light comes in when this roof is open. It also has a retractable shade if you guys don't want the sun. And then like I showed you earlier, you can also open it up to vent air or open it up entirely over the 2 front seats. You can see how much light pours in when the sunroof is open. It's a very dark tint on the actual sunroof for this model, which is good and bad if you guys want, you know, more lighting in the vehicle. But overall, the front seat area certainly has plenty of space. The Lexicon premium sound system also sounds fantastic. Lots of luxury and tech, has a premium feel, just really needs wireless CarPlay, which should be coming for 2025, along with a screen that's moved a little bit closer so I can easily touch that. But let's go ahead and hop into the back seat of this GV70 and show you guys what the space is like. Now, in terms of the rear seat legroom, the door, first of all, opens up a pretty decent amount where you could fit a car seat in here. Genesis says there's just under 37 inches of legroom back here, which 37 is not bad. It's about an inch or so more than some of its rivals, but it also has an inch or two less than some of its rivals. So it's kind of right in the middle. You can see you still have that beautiful leatherette stitching on the upper door panel here. Same thing on this area with the contrast stitching, more metal trim, more carbon fiber. Down here, it's even still soft touch injection molded plastic, which I love. And then the Sport Prestige trim includes these manual sunshades, which again is a feature that a lot of parents really appreciate. Love the red seat belts, which carry over into the back of the vehicle. And if you want, you can basically pull this. This will fold the seat down. You can see it creates almost a flat floor, which is nice. I also love the kind of one touch point part of it. You can see the seats do have a recline function, where if you pull that, you can see this is with it's more upright, there's with it more reclined. And then getting back here, you can see the space is certainly pretty good. Let me go ahead and shut the door. This is basically where I'd have the seat to drive. You can see for somebody my height, there's good foot space, decent legroom. There's a large hump here because this is a rear drive based vehicle for the drive shaft. You have your own set of climate controls. You have 3 level heated rear seats back here. You have your own set of rear seat air vents. I can sit back here and cross my legs, but again, it's not quite as roomy as some of its rivals, but it's still very, very good. You can see the space to the middle here offers a decent amount of space. There's also an armrest here that folds down, gives you 2 cup holders, which is nice. And then in terms of the headroom space, you can see for somebody my height, my head gets relatively close. So if you guys are over 6 feet, you might notice the headroom to be a little bit lacking. But overall, the back seat area is certainly still average. And it also comes with really nice materials, nice ambient lighting, nice climate functions. You also have 2 USB-A charging ports, still USB-A, and you have an actual power outlet here. So I'm imagining Genesis will eventually update those to the USB-Cs. But overall, the backseat area is still definitely very usable, but some rivals do offer a little bit more actual legroom space. So it's been about a couple years since I had a chance to drive and film a GV70 with its 3.5 liter twin turbo V6 for the channel. I remember when I first had this vehicle, it's essentially when this car first came out. And remember, the GV70 was kind of late to the SUV party. Genesis in general was a little bit late to the SUV party, but this car has become a huge success for Genesis because it is the brand's best-selling model now, which doesn't surprise me. It's a compact luxury SUV. Now, this model that we're driving has the twin turbocharged V6, which kind of puts it in line with a lot of other European competitors like the Audi SQ5, BMW X3 M40i, or xDrive M40i, and a Mercedes AMG GLC 43. And it makes the Genesis certainly have a unique engine in the segment with 375 horsepower, almost 400 pound-feet of torque. This thing should be quick. And the last time I 0 to 60 tested it, I believe I got slightly under 5 seconds. So let's see what we can do 2 years later and see if this thing still feels pretty fast. It does have launch control. You put it in Sport Plus, you brake torque it. Oof. Oof. And we just got the exact same 0 to 60 time, I believe, as last year, 4.89 seconds. So 4.9 seconds is actually pretty fast. It is still a little bit quicker than the last Audi SQ5 that I tested, although the BMW xDrive 40i X3 will probably smoke this thing, and same thing with the Mercedes-AMG's GLC 43. Haven't had a chance to drive the new model yet. I'm hoping Mercedes will eventually give me one of those cars for a full week. I've only tested the GLC 300. But this engine is basically an overachiever for, you know, this segment. It'll have more than enough power for most people looking in this class. I mean, most people will probably be happy with the 4-cylinder turbo. That'll probably take around 5.7 seconds, just under about a second longer than the V6. But again, the V6 comes with a pretty hefty price premium. But let's go ahead and try it again here just to see if we can get a consistent number. Oof. Nice firm shifts, 5.06 there. That's with it more going slightly uphill. So the time is pretty consistent. And I think most people are going to be quite impressed with the performance. The shifts in the sport mode, when you're brake torquing it, they are definitely on the firmer side, but this is still the, you know, 8-speed in-house developed automatic transmission. It's a really great partner for this engine. It kind of puts it right in the meat of its power band. The V6, while it doesn't really make much in terms of sounds, it is smooth and refined. And, you know, for those of you who want a 6-cylinder, this is one of the few that still offers a 6-cylinder, which is nice, that has, you know, this kind of power. Put my foot down here just in sport. Oof. Lots of, you know, strong mid-range pull. It has that effortless feel. The 8-speed is also quick to respond. And this thing just feels quick. I mean, yes, you could save like $12,000 by going with the 4-cylinder, which, to be honest, about 90% of customers will probably be happy with it. But as an enthusiast, I appreciate the fact that Genesis offers a V6. This is going to be quicker, you know, versus all the models from Lexus, including the plug-in hybrid NX. This is also going to be quicker than an Acura RDX. If Acura would just come out with a Type S version of that, that'd be fantastic. So yes, you're going to have to go for, you know, a Porsche Macan to be faster than this, you know, BMW xDrive 40i to be faster than this for the X3. But, you know, that's kind of where Genesis comes into play with its value. They do offer a strong, you know, horsepower per dollar and luxury per dollar value with this car. And I think a lot of people will probably end up appreciating, you know, the, you know, level of performance and luxury that Genesis gives you. Now, this model, being the Sport Prestige, does include a limited slip rear differential, and you can actually feel it sending power to the outside rear wheel to kind of induce a little bit of throttle oversteer, which is kind of fun. I mean, remember, this car is a rear drive platform, so don't you dare call it like a guzzied up version of a Hyundai Tucson. It's just not the same vehicle, and that's kind of what I like about, you know, the GV70s. It's a proper rear wheel drive car that will really surprise a lot of people. You know, if you're looking for something like this. Let's just try it again here one more time. We'll just floor it from a stop. Smoother there when you don't brake torque it. 5.02, so there we go. That's without launch control. So in everyday driving, you're gonna easily do a 5-second 0 to 60 time, which again is fast for most people. And if you want an even faster Genesis GV70, you can also buy the electric version. The electric version is around a second faster. The rear wheel is actually slipping there, spinning out its tires, which is kind of funny. But yes, if you guys want an even faster GV70, you can buy the electric version, which will do 0 to 60 in 3.9 seconds. That was my last test for that vehicle, because it has the same powertrain from the GV60 Performance. They're all electric crossover. So the GV70 is definitely an overachiever in terms of performance. And in terms of handling, this is where it's in sport mode. The steering gets a little bit firmer. The suspension also is adaptive. It gets firmer. And you definitely notice the car is sporty in its feel, especially if you guys go for the Sport Prestige. The steering itself is quick. It's a little light and devoid of feel. In this mode, in sport, it's a little heavier. But the car just changes directions like a sports sedan. The suspension also stays, for the most part, flat. It feels a little firmer in Sport Plus, which is good. In comfort mode, which I'll switch it to now, you definitely notice the steering gets a lot lighter, the suspension, the shocks get a lot lighter as well, and the car feels more like a luxury vehicle. In fact, the ride quality of this GV70 is still among the best in the segment. Even though we're on these 40 series 21-inch wheels, it still rides down the road nicely. It's nice and quiet. You have very little road and wind noise. You hear a little bit of engine noise, but in comfort mode, you definitely don't hear the engine unless you're really pushing it. So the exhaust or the sound enhancer, is making the engine's presence more known when you're in Sport or Sport Plus, but in Comfort, it definitely quiets things down. And it's just a really nice luxury SUV to drive. So I like how Genesis has thrown in that dual personality where in sport mode, it'll actually, put a smile on your face and you can attack your favorite back roads with, ease and precision. And then in comfort mode, it's a luxury SUV. And that's kind of the point when you go for a vehicle in this space. This definitely feels a little sportier than the last Acura RDX and the, Lexus NX. This is not on par with like an Alfa Romeo, Stelvio or a Porsche Macan. At least the latest Macan, the last Macan that I drove. Haven't driven the electric model yet, but it's, it's still a really nice driving SUV. This is pretty much on par with like an Audi SQ5 or Mercedes GLC, the previous generation that I drove. Now, in terms of fuel efficiency, this is where the GV70 is lagging because Genesis doesn't offer a hybrid model. There's rumors of one coming. They just offer their all-electric version, and this model is rated at 18 city, 24 highway. In my week's worth of testing, I averaged around just under 18 mpg, around 17.5 and 6 city driving, which isn't wonderful. In the highway, the best I could do was just over 24.5 mpg, which it's pretty accurate with the EPA's numbers. It has a 17.5 gallon fuel tank. You're looking at around 330 to 350 miles of range, depending on how, economically you drive. That is on premium gas. So there are going to be, better models that get significantly better fuel efficiency, especially if you look at like the Lexus NX with its hybrid powertrains. You're going to get easily twice the MPG in the Lexus models, like an NX 350h. Now, granted, those models are also significantly slower, but not everybody's going to need, all this extra power that this car gives you. And some people may just prefer the MPGs. If you want, similar performance with better fuel efficiency, the BMW with its inline 6 turbo engine will get better MPG. So Genesis does lag behind in the fuel economy game, but I think if they could work on offering a hybrid model, that would definitely, improve things significantly for them. So if fuel efficiency is not a high priority for you, this one should make it to the top of your list because it definitely is still a very well-rounded luxury SUV that can surprisingly still put a smile on your face. So like I said at the very beginning of this video, this is the best-selling Genesis model here in America with nearly 26,000 units sold here in the States in 2023. So after spending a full week with the latest version of the GV70, how does this continue to stack up in the space? As you guys know, the compact luxury SUV segment is extremely cutthroat with new entries always showing up. And this model, when I first had a chance to drive it, became one of my favorites. And after spending a full week with this model, it is definitely still one of my favorites, but there are a couple of weaknesses that are starting to show up in the G70's armor, where it's kind of showing me that this vehicle is kind of ready for a refresh. As you guys saw, the V6 twin turbo engine delivers excellent performance. 0 to 60 in the 5-second range, or slightly under 5 seconds, is overachieving. It's going to be one among the quicker compact luxury SUVs out there. The handling is also on the sportier edge. I love the fact that Genesis offers, the drive modes with the adaptive suspension. It really creates that dual personality that people love. The interior is still extremely luxurious with most of the tech features that you could want, although I do wish that Genesis would add wireless CarPlay and they'd move the screen a little bit closer so it's easier to touch. I suspect, or actually I read that Genesis is offering wireless CarPlay for 2025. It's one of the few things of tech that prevents this car from being class leading in that regard, although I have a feeling Genesis will eventually add their 27-inch display from the GV80 at some point. The rear seat offers average amounts of space. The cargo area is also average. The design of this vehicle is gorgeous. This is still one of my favorite looking SUVs, but I really think that Genesis would do well if they would offer this vehicle with a hybrid or a plug-in hybrid powertrain. There has to be something that's going to improve the fuel efficiency, because that's the biggest weak point of this vehicle. I mean, 300-ish miles of range and 18 mpg in the city just isn't cutting it anymore in today's modern SUV world. Even though for those of you who think luxury buyers who are spending this much money don't care about fuel efficiency, I do believe they do, and that's precisely why the Lexus NX outsells this vehicle 3-1. Now, if you guys don't care about the efficiency, this is still one of the best ones out there, but you may want to wait for the 2025 model because it finally adds the wireless Apple CarPlay, and I'm expecting Genesis to refresh this vehicle possibly for 2026, which you're gonna have to wait a couple more years for that. But with all that said, if you guys are looking to purchase a 2024 GV70 today, pricing for this vehicle has creeped up over the years, but it's still among the better values out there. It starts at just over $45,000 for a base 2.5T turbo, which honestly should be enough power for most. The V6 is a whopping $12,000 more, around $12,600, so it's gonna start at around $57,650. That's plus $1,350 destination charge. The Sport Prestige option package that my test car has here is roughly $10,000 more, but it includes a lot of equipment like the 21-inch wheels, the adaptive suspension, the upgraded Lexicon stereo system, the upgraded leather. All in with destination, my test car here comes to $69,350. So just under 70 grand for this vehicle is certainly expensive. I mean, that makes this car more expensive than the top versions of the Acura RDX, the Lexus NX, and maybe even the Volvo XC60. However, if you're comparing it to the BMW or the Mercedes or the Audi in their performance trims with their 6 cylinders, although the Benz now has a turbo 4-cylinder, it's going to come in at around $5,000 less expensive than its European rivals, but this is also around $5,000 more expensive than its Japanese rivals. So the Genesis has a nice little middle ground that it's playing with. It doesn't quite have the, the cachet of the brand recognition just yet, but Genesis has been doing so well that it's really only a matter of time before people kind of pick up on this vehicle, and it's exactly why sales continue to increase. And this vehicle is still one of my favorites out there, but I would like to see Genesis eventually offer a hybrid and then possibly, a better infotainment system with, improved tech, which we should be getting in the next couple of years. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the brand new 2024 Genesis GV70. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.